it going? Welcome to another video in this series on managing pain through yoga. In today's video, we're going to be looking at that all-important muscle group of the hamstrings. So the hamstring consists of three muscles, really: the bicep femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus, all located at the back of the leg. They have their attachment points here. You can see along all the way up into the ischial tuberosity, which you'll often hear in a yoga class referred to as the sitting bones. So you can actually feel them when you're sitting onto them. And that'll be where the attachment point for the hamstrings is. And then they obviously run along the back of the leg and connect down into the tibia and fibula, which are the bones of the lower leg. And then they have some fascial attachments into some of the muscles on the lower leg portion of the leg as well. So this is really interesting and important when it comes to our pain pattern, our trigger point pain pattern. So we can often find a lot of those trigger points in the belly of the muscle, and pain will often occur around the attachment point, so that kind of sort of just lower portion of your bum. And it can also present as pain behind the knee and to the side of the knee, and also a little bit into the top of the calf muscle. So as somebody who has historically felt like one of those people who has particularly tight hamstrings, I'm hoping that this video will help us to just unlock some of the secrets of the hamstring, helping you to work with the hamstring in a way that is a little bit more friendly, and hopefully over time the muscle will sort of unlock its secrets to you so that you can find a little bit more space with ease through releasing some of those trigger points that might be present, and through building strength through active stretching, and to just allow yourself to soften into it rather than forcing or pushing through any of that kind of resistance that you might meet in this really powerful, important muscle. So let's go ahead and get started. So what you'll need in terms of yoga tools for today is a tennis ball. If you have these kind of yoga foam block things, that might be good. You can also alternatively use a book, or you might even just use the floor, depending on what feels right for you today. That's what you need. Let's go grab our mats and get started. So as I mentioned earlier, the trigger points for this muscle can be found predominantly in the belly of the muscle. So this is kind of like the middle of the muscle. So we're going to first work on gently releasing those trigger points there, so that we have a little bit more space for the muscle to work into some of our yoga postures. So take your blocks and you're just going to kind of make a little platform with your blocks across the mat like that. And I'm going to start with the left leg just so you can see what I'm doing a little bit more clearly. So place it down, and then you can step your right leg over, and then you're going to sort of angle the ball into that hamstring. Wherever your hands are most comfortable is the best place. You could be pointing the fingers back or forwards towards you, whichever feels right. And then I'm going to start to put a little bit more weight down into that. You can even lift a little bit the hips off the ground if that's accessible to you, and then you can look for trigger points. So I'm going to work my way sort of down the length of the muscle, up and down, and then I'll move it slightly to the side. So remember, there's three sort of main muscles in this group, hamstring group. So whenever I find a little trigger point, so a place that feels particularly juicy, I might just stay and hold. I'm going to lower the hips down so that I can have the right amount of pressure downwards, and we'll take 3 nice deep breaths into the belly, in the nose and out through the nose. And you should feel as though that sort of strong sensation of finding that trigger point gently starts to decrease. And then once you do, you might move just a little bit to the side or down, and you'll probably find a little neighboring trigger point. And again, we'll stay and hold. For 3 breaths. And then gently release. We'll take the ball across and over to the other side.
And you, of course, at home can like pause the video here and take your time to find all the trigger points that might be hidden in your hamstring. But for the purposes of this video, we'll just work with a couple. So again, just working your way through the muscles. So I'm going to go around the belly of the muscle, working from inside towards outside or outside towards inside, doesn't really matter. Just looking for any little juicy bits. Ooh, so I found one there, and that's sent a sensation all the way down to the back of my calf muscle, which is a pretty good indication that that is a trigger point. I'm going to relax my hips down, and then 3 nice deep breaths in and out.
And then, of course, you're welcome to search for a few more. If you have time, pause and stay for a little while, just giving that hamstring loads of your attention, right? So we're not trying to pull the hamstrings into a longer shape. We're trying to just release any of those muscle fibers that might have a little bit of restriction in them, so that when we come to stretching, it feels a little bit easier. Okay. So from there, we'll gently release. So once you've popped those to the side, just gently make your way around onto your hands and knees. Hands more or less under the shoulders, knees under hips, and then just stretch back through your right leg, pressing through the heel. And just take a little moment here to reach through the heel and forward through the crown of the head. Good. Float your right foot away from the ground and then bring the knee forward and through. Step it in between your hands. Help it if you need to. Walk your fingertips a little bit further forward and then see if you can draw your chest a little bit further forward. Try to not push through your left hip. Instead, have a little squeeze of your left glute and see if that helps you to soften a little bit more through the front of that hip flexor. And then walk your fingertips back in towards you. Sometimes it's helpful to bring your right leg a little bit closer in and then draw the head of the thigh bone into its hip socket as you start to flex your right toes towards you a little bit more. If you need your blocks here for support, either side of you, that could be quite helpful sometimes if you need just a little bit more lift. And then from there, you can take a breath in, think about lengthening through the spine. If it's available, you could come a little bit further forward and down so you feel a little bit more, perhaps resistance or stretch in the back of that leg. Take 3 breaths here. And then gently placing your foot all the way down, hands to the earth, and we'll step back. Give yourself a little shake or a wiggle, whatever feels nice, just to then gently extend back through that left leg. Press through the heel, really extending back so you feel a little stretch through the calf muscle as well. Remember, everything is connected. The sole of the foot is getting a little stretch out as well. Reach forward through the crown of the head and send that heel back behind you. And then gently step the foot forward in between the hands, help it out if you need to. Walk your fingertips a little bit further forward, draw the chest forward. See if you could squeeze your right glute just a little bit, softening through the front of the hip flexor. And then walk the fingertips back by your sides. Maybe coming onto your block. Flex the toes towards you. You can move your heel more centrally if that feels helpful, depending on the shape of your pelvis, or you could keep it a little bit wider. And then see if you can really try to think about bringing your hip back into the socket so you get this even sense through the pelvis. Take a little breath in here. And then as you exhale, you might fold a little bit deeper. Remember, we're never trying to sort of force or push the hamstring. See if you can work with it where it's at today. So you start as soon as you feel that little stretch, just stay with that and breathe. Once you finish your third breath, just gently releasing, walking the hands back in front, and then gently stepping back. Tuck your toes under, sink the hips back to the heels. Have a sense of stretching again through the bottoms of the feet. Soften the shoulders away from the ears so the neck feels long. And then press the ground away through the hands, lift the knees, and stretch the sitting bones up high towards the sky. So now you know you can think about the attachment points of the sitting bones of the hamstrings connecting into those sitting bones. So now the sitting bones are reaching high and you're getting that nice length. Feel free to have a little bend in your knees, and you might even just start to pedal out through the feet, so lifting and lowering the heels. Just notice where you feel any stretch or resistance or any tension. Keep the shoulders softening away from the ears, maybe a little softness through the elbows. And then gently float your right leg away from the ground so it just comes to about hip height, so not super high. And then step that right foot behind the left. From there, start to walk your hands in, if you can, all the way towards your feet. So you're in this little cross-legged position. Keep the legs nice and straight as you fold forward over the legs. It might be that you shift the weight forward a little bit more into the toes, depending on where you're at today. Relax the shoulders. You could even catch hold of opposite elbows with opposite hands. And take 3 gentle breaths here. So it's quite important when we're working with the hamstrings as well to get a little sense of length through the adductor muscles, because they're all connected as well. So when we're working with one group of muscles, we're never really just working with that one group. We're sort of actively, consciously helping the rest of the body to release as well. Walking the fingertips all the way forward once again, so you end back in your sort of cross-legged downward facing dog, and then gently lift your right leg up, step it forward and through, help it if you need to, and then lower it all the way to the earth. Okay, from there, untuck the back toes, draw the chest forward and through once again here, so it's kind of this low lunge shape, and then exhale, press back. See if you can sort of feel as though that thigh bone is drawing into the hip socket, and allow your chest to fold forward and through, forehead to the earth or to your shin. You could stay, or you could tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee away from the ground. See if you could really engage to the front of your thigh, so you're sort of pulling that muscle in and up to the hip socket and folding a little bit deeper forward over that front thigh. If that doesn't feel accessible, just stay in that first shape. Gently release the back knee to the ground, and then you could step all the way back, either into that tabletop or straight back into a down dog shape. Find a little bit of movement here again, just feeling a sense of release and openness and softness through the backs of the legs. Take a little breath in, lift that left leg just about hip height, not super high. Just feeling a sense of evenness through the pelvis. And then step that left foot around beside your right. It might be that your pinky toes are almost coming to touch, and then you can start to walk your hands all the way back. From there, you might be able to bring the toes, baby toes, a little bit closer, walk the hands in. So a couple options here. You're either catching hold of opposite elbows, taking a little sway, or keeping the fingertips reaching to the ground. You could shift the weight forward a little bit, into the feet, into the toes. Relax the head, the shoulders, and just notice that beautiful sensation of length through the back of that leg. One more breath. And then gently start to walk your hands all the way forward once again. So you end up back in this cross-legged downward facing dog. Release the left leg, and you could step it all the way forward and through. Right knee comes to the ground, draw the chest forward and through. See if you can squeeze that right glute just a little bit, and then press back. Flex the toes towards you, so you're staying either here, softening forward and down, or tucking the back toes under, lifting up and getting a little bit more of a stretch here, but not forcing it. The other shape might be absolutely perfect, and you're getting just about as much sort of length from one as the other. Lower the back knee to the ground, Place the foot back down, step back into your downward facing dog shape. Slowly start to walk your feet all the way forward towards your hands. Have that nice bend in your knees. Really encourage that release through the hamstrings by just softening them at their attachment points, yeah? Okay, collect opposite elbow with opposite hand. Relax the head. And again, it might feel really nice to take a little sway here, releasing through the lower back, all the back muscles, breathing into the belly. Gently release your hands to the ground once again, and then we're going to walk back into a downward dog, and then knees to the ground, and then lower all the way down to the earth, onto the belly. Stretching the arms forward, just get really long through the body. Relax the outer edges of your legs towards the earth, forehead towards the ground. Breathe into the belly. And then slide your hands in so you can make a little pillow with your forearms, crossing one over the top of the other. And then you're just going to gently start to bend your right knee on the count of 1, 2, bringing it up and in towards you. And then we're going to release it down on the count of 3, 2, 1. We're going to do that a few times, lifting up for the count of 1, 2, and then gently releasing down for 3, 2, 1. Up for 1, 2, lowering down, 3, 2, 1. You can do this with a little bit of weight on your foot as well. If you have those little ankle weights that you see sometimes around, lowering down. Good, let's do one more, lifting up for 1, 2, and lowering down, 3, 2, 1. Take your time with it so you can feel the muscles engage. If one hand is crossed over the top, just changing the crossing of that. I have my head turned to one side so I can see you, but you could turn it to the other side just for balance. And then lifting up for 1, 2, and lowering, 3, 2, 1. Lifting up, 1, 2, and lowering down, 3, 2, 1. Lifting up, 1, 2, and lowering, 3, 2, 1. Let's do 2 more. Lifting up, 1, 2, and lowering down slowly, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Gently take the arms by your sides, press into the ground. Lift yourself all the way back up, sink the hips back to the heels, take a little child's pose, resting the forehead down, relaxing the shoulders. And then gently walking the hands in towards you, coming to sitting. Taking a little bit of a moment here just to feel into the hamstrings, feel into the body. Notice your breath. Thank you so much for joining me in today's little practice. I'll probably do a second video on the hamstrings because I feel like there's a lot to cover here. Thank you so much for being here. If you're not subscribed already, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And thanks so much for joining me today in this practice. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye.